let's discuss a little bit about probability numbers and what kind of things can happen here. And one of the key comments or key notes that you should have is that all probabilities must fall between 0 and 1. Probabilities are calculated again as fractions like we've been doing. Fractions again can be divided on your calculator or divided out to get decimals, and those numbers should be between 0 and 1. Now if you have a probability of 0, that means that it can't happen. It's impossible. And that falls under the B category here. What's the probability of an outcome that is impossible? It cannot happen. That probability is 0. No chance. Okay, the probability of a sure thing means it's guaranteed to happen. It will happen, promised, guaranteed. That is 1. If the probability is 1, then it is a sure thing. It's guaranteed to happen. Okay, now when we have multiple events going on, we're going to have to keep in mind that all of our probabilities will need to add to 1. Okay, all probabilities must add to 1 to represent the whole, or 100% of everything that could occur. So all probabilities must add to 1, and that is mainly applied to these kinds of questions. Make sure you're familiar with the notation. It says the probability that A occurs, whatever A happens to be. Okay, it's probability of an outcome occurring. And this symbol here is called the complement. It's the probability that A does not happen. That's what that little symbol means right there. It's the probability that A does not happen. And there are also two other ways to write this. You could write it as the probability of not A. You could simply just use the word not. Or you could write it as the probability of A with what you would think is like an exponent C. Think of C as a complement, and the word complement in probability means not. So just make sure that you're understanding that these three different statements, this one, and this one, really all mean the same thing. They're all interchangeable. Now that leads us to the type of question at the bottom. It says, suppose the probability of a certain outcome happening is, probability of A occurring is 0.3. And says, what's the probability that A does not occur? Now we need to keep in mind that all probabilities have to add to 1. So we could think of A as being maybe rain. Let's say the probability that it's going to rain is 0.3. Well, what's the probability it's not going to rain? That would be 0.7. And the way we calculate this is we always just take, if we want the complement, we take 1 minus the probability that it does happen. And 1 minus probability that it does happen. So in this case, it'd be 1 minus 0.3. Which is going to give us our answer of 0.7. Okay, 0.7. So make sure you're familiar with the symbolism of complement, or this symbolism here that says not happening. And make sure you understand that probabilities should add to 1. The probability that something occurs and doesn't occur, or doesn't occur,